Welcome in Inside the Icebox here on the ESPN Houston YouTube channel. My name is Joe George alongside Jeremy Branham. You find all of us on all social media platforms at Joe George Radio, at Jeremy Branham, talking all things Houston Astros. Today's show is brought to you by Blue Star Tequila, the world's first and only night harvested tequila. You can find it near you at bluestartequila.com. So Jeremy, we got a lot to get into today. We're going to talk All-Stars. We're going to talk about where the Astros stack up against the rest of baseball in terms of betting odds right now to win the AL, to win the World Series. We're going to talk about hands, or a hand, Yordan Alvarez's hand, and we'll talk about Lance McCullers and what he's doing. But let's start here today. The All-Star ballots are out. They're open. The public can vote. Gut reaction, how many representatives in the All-Star game do the Houston Astros deserve this year?
I will go with 4.5.
4.5 is the number? Okay.
Well, am I setting the number?
Well, you just set the number. You
that's too high. That's too high. I mean, for how many they get, I would put the number at 3.
Okay.
But I think 4.5 should be the conversation.
So, Jeremy Pena.
To me, he's a no-brainer.
I think he's a no-brainer. The Athletic put out an article that we'll talk about here in a second. He's on the list.
I think you have 3 no-brainers. What did I put the number at?
4.5.
No.
Oh, 3.5.
3.5. I think 3.5 is the number because
Hunter Brown.
You have 3 no-doubters.
Yes.
No doubters.
Hunter Brown, Jeremy Pena, Josh Hader. No doubters.
No slam dunks.
They're all absolutely, totally agree. I think they're there. Let's go to the outfield.
Yeah.
Jake Meyers. All-Star. The Athletic put out a story looking at who they think will represent the American League in the All-Star game. These are the center fielders. Trent Grisham, Julio Rodriguez, Byron Buxton. Now, I know Julio Rodriguez is a star, or he's supposed to be a star. Got a big contract that pays him like it.
Yeah.
But if you look at the numbers this year, Jake Meyers is a better player than Julio Rodriguez this season. And I'm not a Jake believer. We had this discussion like 6 times already since we started the show.
I think we were doing this last June, too.
But as the voting opens, Jake Meyers has a 292 batting average, a 405 slug, 752 OPS. Julio Rodriguez is hitting 248 with a 732 OPS.
So you're going on the Athletics All-Star team? Like, did they account for voting?
They did not.
Okay.
This is just their view. Because obviously Julio's going to rise up that list. He's going to be a fan favorite.
Yeah,
right?
See, I thought that Julio might have gotten their fan vote, and that's the reason that he was there. Because, I mean, that picks the starter. Mm-hmm. So, okay, that makes it – no, I think that Myers had a better year than Julio Rodriguez. I don't think he's a better player, but I think he's had a better year. But do I think that he would get the All-Star nod over J-Rod? No, I don't. Even though he's having the better year, will he get the All-Star nod over him? No chance.
I tend to agree, just because it's Julio Rodriguez versus Jake Meyers.
Yeah.
Jake Meyers feels like the All-Star of a team that has lost 100 games and is guaranteed a spot on the roster.
Right.
Like you're going to just – because you have to have representation.
He would have been the Jason Castro.
Yes.
Whenever he was an All-Star. Where, like, his numbers are like, they're All-Star worthy. They're on the brink. But, it's easy to do it whenever you're the lone representative. J-Rod annoys me, too. That's probably a different conversation.
That's okay. No, let's have it. Because I think he's teetering on overrated.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't think the national conversation's there with Julio Rodriguez. But, like, if Jake Meyers is having the season that he's having and Julio's having the season he's having – and I know it's heating up a little bit. The homers are starting to be there. But the Mariners are, as we record this, a half game behind the Astros in the division. It's not because of Julio Rodriguez. It's largely in spite of Julio Rodriguez. Like, I just don't think he's the player that people have gassed him up to be yet.
I do wonder how much of it's the ballpark.
That's fair.
But, like, whenever he got the contract early, he was like, okay, he's going to be the best center fielder in all of baseball, and he has been nowhere near that. Now, he'll have moments where he gets, like, hot, and it's like, okay, he does look the part. But he doesn't sustain it for a full year. Maybe that's to come. Mm-hmm. Now, I do wonder, like, if he played at a more hitter-friendly park, does it look differently? I think there's a chance of that. It does, I think, negatively influence his offensive numbers. But the reason that he annoys me is because he's teetering on the overrated label. I would agree with that. And the dude just nonstop is a prankster on the field. Yeah. Like, that doesn't bother me if you're doing well. right? Like Jose Lima, when he was winning 20 games, he was doing this Lima shuffle. Like, that doesn't bother me. You're dominating. Like, you're doing well and you're having all this joy and fun on the field. I know it's like a game, but you can't be struggling offensively and like be messing with the opposition's head and stuff like that. Like,
Or
it bothers me.
the fake that he doesn't have the ball.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's done that this year where he robs a home run. He pretends like he doesn't have it.
He did that.
Yeah. And he took way too long where they should have just called him home run and say the ball's missing.
He did. I was watching the end of the Mariners game the other day. I can't remember. It was early this week, and it was like a crucial moment. Like it was against Baltimore, and they're down like a run, bottom of the 8th inning. He has like a critical at bat, and like he hits like a little like routine ground ball to short or pop. I don't even remember like how he got out, but he got out, and he's running over to first base. I don't remember who's playing first base for Baltimore, and he starts like horse playing with the first baseman. You're down a run in the bottom of the 8th. You just got put out, and you're horse playing with the first baseman. That stuff annoys me. If it was in the second inning, okay.
I couldn't even imagine if a Houston Astros.
It was in the 8th inning.
If an Astros
down a
player
run.
did that,
I would lose my mind.
The lead topic on the Killer Bees every day from 3 to 6 on ESPN 97.5.
Like it's you know what it's similar to? It's similar to Laramie Tunsil posting his cleats autographed by Beyonce after they got embarrassed on Christmas.
That's like, a great comp.
If you win the game, nobody cares that you post the cleats autographed by Beyonce.
Yeah.
No one cares if you're up by 3 in the 8th inning doing that. But to me, it's just like you're okay losing. Like that's the mentality that's at least the body language that I receive when you do that sort of thing, is that you're accepting losing. And I don't like that.
Framber Valdez is probably the other guy on this.
Yeah.
That if he keeps pitching like this, he'll get a nod.
See, I think there's.
I would imagine.
I think he's on the fence. I think there's a lot of guys on the fence. I think Framber's on the fence. Jake, I think, would be on the fence. I think Isak is probably on the fence, although he's cooled down a bit. And I think that kind of an underrated guy to keep an eye on, Brian Abreu, I think would be on the fence here.
Brian Abreu would be interesting because they have recently started to not just focus on closers as the bullpen guys. Brian Abreu would make a lot of sense. I think with Alex Bregman's injury, it opens the door for Isak. I think before that, it was probably pretty clear that your 2 third basemen would be Jose Ramirez and Alex Bregman. There's really Isak couldn't put up the year that those guys are capable of doing. So, but now that Bregman's hurt, it opens that door up a little bit. So yeah, I think
he's probably more of a long shot. Yeah. But I think he's in the conversation. He's on the outside of the conversation, but I think he's in the conversation.
He might get to that number based on injuries and people that pull out of the game.
Like a reserve type, yeah.
Yeah, or like he finds his way into the game. I think we'll be able to avoid any players participating in the home run derby this year, which is good.
I'm happy with that.
I don't think the Astros really have it, unless Isak wanted to do it.
Yeah, I mean, he would have to, he's a long shot to be a representative. Is that a requirement that you have to be an all-star to be in the home run derby? I feel like that hasn't always been the case.
I think it is. I think we might be confusing it with the dunk contest.
No, I'm not. I wouldn't do that.
I think you're right. I don't think you have to be an all-star to be, because you have guys who hit a ton of home runs who don't do really anything else well. And sometimes they've been in all-star game. I mean, in home run derbies in the past. I think that's correct.
Google says no, but I don't like. It would have to be for a star player who hits a lot of dongs, right? Like I don't think Isak is to that number. Like I do think that Isak would have to be an all-star to be in the home run derby. So I would say no. Like they're not going to just bring in they're not going to ask Yordan. Yordan hadn't been good in the first half, and he's been hurt. And then secondly, like there's no way you let a guy who might be back for the All-Star game with a recovering broken bone, like you wouldn't let him do the home run derby.
Let's have that conversation now. So we've had the All-Star conversation. Let's talk about Yordan Alvarez. So he's at the plate. He hits a home run in batting practice. And all of a sudden we find out there is a fracture in the hand after imaging is done, after he says it's still bothering him. There's a lot, I think, to look at with this Yordan thing. The timing of the doctor getting recognized before the game, tough look. Probably would have canceled that. But just might have been like, hey, maybe when Yordan's back. Talked about the Houston Methodist commercial that Yordan's in. Probably would pull that out of rotation at this point. I can't tell who this is more of a failure on, though, to be honest, Jeremy. I want to start to look in a different direction, I think, than the medical staff. I think we have to have some kind of conversation about Yordan Alvarez, because it's starting to make me suspicious about what happened with Dusty Baker and Dusty not knowing which hand is hurt. And why is Yordan Alvarez still hurting and going out there and not, to me, it comes off as not communicating clearly the pain or discomfort he's feeling in his hand before batting practice even takes place. I think the medical staff is totally at fault, but like at some point, like the player has to take some responsibility of communicating that he's not healthy. Like the Astros also failed. Clearly, they should have done imaging before he got back in the cage. Now that the swelling was down.
Yeah,
but they didn't do that.
I mean, Yordan's mysterious with all of his injury past. Like, I don't think that he's like he's certainly not an Iron Man, and he's not like, okay, let's treat your body the way like Yordan. I don't know, but it's hard for me to put a lot of blame on Yordan here. And look, I've called Yordan soft in the past. I think I called him soft with this injury. I recant those comments because of what we know now.
Yes,
it's hard for me to put a lot on Yordan's plate with this particular injury. I think it's fair to do it in the past, but like Dana Brown went on record with Robert Ford on the Astros pregame show that very first Sunday after they announced the news on a Saturday, I believe it was, this past Saturday. And Dana Brown's like, yeah, in hindsight, we probably should have shut him down when he first reported hand soreness. Okay, so that tells me that Yordan did go into the offices and be like, hey, man, my hand is sore. So, like, that happened. So, like, he communicated that. And then as far as, like, the back end of the little, like, injury saga that we had to live through, Yordan said in Spanish, and it's not in English because he said it in Spanish to Spanish reporters who were asking the question, that all his teammates knew that he still wasn't right. So I have a hard time putting this on Yordan, a very hard time putting this on Yordan. Also, like, he's your best offensive player. Like, you have to baby him.
Yes.
Like, okay, like, It's been 4 weeks. Hey, Yordan, how you feeling, Papi? Like, you know, what's going on? Like, and he's going to either give you an honest answer or he's going to be like, you know, unless he's lying to his manager, general manager, and he's telling the truth to the players, which I have a hard time believing. I think that Yordan didn't know what was going on in his hand. I think Yordan believed, okay, like, this is a muscle strain, and I should be able to swing a bat. And then it's like, man, it's still not right. And then that's what led to that second imaging. It's hard for me to put any blame on Yordan for this.
And the other part of this that's strange for me is Dana Brown did one of his weekly appearances on the Astros flagship radio station, and the way that he presented the Yordan Alvarez injury was essentially Yordan's just going to let us know when he's ready.
Yeah.
And Brian McTaggart and everyone picked up on that, and they're like, they're putting the pressure on Yordan Alvarez to say when he's ready. And it almost comes across, I didn't listen to it, but the way it was transcripted, it comes across as almost like they didn't fully believe him.
Oh, yeah.
And like, it's like, you should be good by now. But then if the player's not good, then where is the medical staff not intervening and saying, hey, let's do more imaging on this hand? Like, it makes no sense.
No, I do think that there could have been an element of boy who cried wolf. It's like, okay, well, Yordan's always complaining about something. Like, right? Like, he has. Like, he got hospitalized for smoke in Atlanta. He slept on a pillow funny in a Tampa hotel and had to come home. Like, he's had issues in the past that are kind of, like, weird. So I do wonder if that's kind of, like, the tendency on him, is that the Astros front office, managerial staff, they do think he's boy who cried wolf. And he complains about everything. I think it's a possibility. I'm not saying that's the case, but I do think that is a possibility. You brought up the point about, look, Dana Brown and Joe Espada put the ball in Yordan's court. They both said in last week, ahead of Saturday's news, they said last week that as soon as Yordan tells us he's ready to go, the big guy's in the lineup and we're ready to roll. They both said that. So, like, that would tick me off on a lot of different, if I were in a lot of different shoes, it would tick me off. It would tick me off in Yordan's shoes. Like, you have the manager and the general manager putting the ball in my court and the pressure on me and the onus on me whenever I have a broken bone in my fourth metacrapple. I would be ticked off if I'm Joe Espada, because if I'm Joe Espada, the training staff is telling me information that is later found out to not be true, and here I am speaking in front of cameras and to the media that Yordan we're waiting on him. We're waiting on him to tell us that it's time. He's checked every box. He's cleared every hurdle, and now the training staff is telling me that it's time to go. and I'm sitting here calling out Yordan Alvarez that he should be in the lineup. I would be ticked off if I'm Dana Brown. So, like, all three of those guys should be livid. If I'm the owner, if I'm Jim Crane, I would be livid. This is the second time it's happened in as many years, and not with just some, like, this isn't Shea Whitcomb. Like, it's not Zach DeZinzo, which is ironic how they've handled Zach DeZinzo. Zach DeZinzo immediately pulled out of the game, immediately placed on the injured list, immediately given imaging, immediately the news release, we're going to take imaging again in 2 weeks. So, like, Zach DeZinzo is the guinea pig of how they're handling things post Yordan Alvarez. But how do you not handle Yordan Alvarez post Kyle Tucker? So I would be livid if I'm all of those people. It's a failure. It's malpractice. It's all of those things. And it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for the organization.
It is, and I apologize. I can't give credit to this conspiracy theory that I believe in on social media. But I think we have to reevaluate what happened with Justin Verlander a little bit now. And the fact that, yes, his teammates, as was reported on ESPN Houston, did not want him to throw out the first pitch because he was not around when he had Tommy John. What did he do after he had Tommy John, Jeremy? He won a Cy Young. What is going on with all the Astros pitchers? Where's Luis Garcia? What's a real update on Christian Javier? What happened with Lance McCullers? But Justin Verlander, one of the best pitchers of our lifetime, who's going to be the closest guy to get to 300 wins we'll probably ever see again, he said, no. I'm not rehabbing here. I'm going to do my own thing. And I'm going to get my doctors and my rehab staff, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to win a Cy Young. Yeah. That's what he did. And the Astros players, all they do is re-aggravate and re-hurt and take forever to come back and have to get DFA'd because they know they're never going to play for the team again in Jose Urquidy. Like, I try not to be boy who cried wolf of, like, you have to fire these people, but they clearly suck at their jobs. Like, I don't think there's any, and I think it probably has to go back as well to, like, what's up with Carlos Correa's rib injury? Like, what is happening? I feel like that's the mark. That's the one. That's where the fan distrust starts, and it's just gotten worse and worse. But between Yordan and Tucker, it's highly questionable.
Yeah, I've heard Correa actually stayed away from the Astros training staff too. Like, he would never go into the training room on advice of Scott Boras, because, like, they didn't want, like, people talking around Major League Baseball because they knew he was about to be a free agent. Yeah. So I've actually been told that Correa stayed away from the Astros training staff. So I actually do believe the rib thing. I think Correa just has a bad body.
That's fair.
And I don't think it is unique what Justin Verlander did. You're not going to see, like, the average player do it, but is it unique that this, $100 million man that is, cares so much about his body, outsources his Tommy John and his rehab? That's not unique. Like, you see that across professional sports. Now,
well, then the Astros need to hire that guy.
Yeah, I mean, you can compare and contrast it, sure. Like, this one went way better than the way that we have done things in the past. So, like, yeah, the Astros, to me, and, like, that was also the COVID year, so, like, that kind of throws, like, a whole bunch of stuff into the, like, Astros didn't want him around. Like, well, he couldn't really be around unless he was, like, in the bubble. So, like, there's a lot of stuff there. To me, the storyline is the Astros medical staff is terrible. Like, and I don't know who the one singular blame is. Like, you mentioned the doctor. Like, the doctor probably didn't even have it on his desk.
Yes.
Right? Like, the Dr. Melhoff, who it is, he probably only has stuff come across his desk when it's time to operate. And, like, that didn't happen here. So, like, it is ironic that they celebrated him right after they announced the Yordan news, but it probably, like, I think it's unfair to Dr. Melhoff.
Oh, for sure. It's more just bad timing. It's bad timing for
hilarious.
him. I mean, honestly, if he would have got booed, it wouldn't have shocked me.
Yeah, I mean, the irony is very funny. I don't put any blame on Melhoff. I don't know who to put the blame on. I don't know if you put it on head athletic trainer. I don't know if you put it on the physicians. I don't know who to put the blame on. All that we can say is that structurally and organizationally, it has been a disaster on a number of different cases. Most recently, Yordan. Kyle Tucker last year. You mentioned the arm injuries, like Lance McCullers. Who knows what went on there? We know he's had 3 major surgeries on his arm, his right arm from the elbow down, flexor, brace, Tommy John. They admitted that they rushed J.P. France back. Luis Garcia, like, what? He went out on rehab starts. Luis Garcia.
And this is where I push back against the notion that Jim Crane can be upset by this, because.
Oh, so you're saying he's, like, almost, like, culpable or whatever?
Then make a change. Like, I don't know if this is these are doctors who are employed by Houston Methodist, right, and that they are really responsible, but it's more a partnership, and that's where they're going, and maybe it's just a string of bad luck. But like, if things were this bad from the team, from the players on the field, people would be fired. And I hate to ask for the firing of people, but they're not going to lose their real jobs.
Well, I mean,
some of them would.
That's not true.
Like,
I mean, if it's Jeremiah Randall, I mean,
Yeah,
Jeremiah
yes.
Randall, head athletic trainer of the Houston Astros, if they found him as the point person as to why there are failures there, he would be gone, and that is his primary job.
And if I was Jeremiah Randall at some point, like, I would demand to speak to the media, to clear my name if it's not my fault, because we just dragged him. Everyone's dragging him.
Yeah.
Every time there's an injury, Chandler and Brian McTaggart and all of them tweet out, the trainer's not made available by the team. Like, people have questions. And I think fans, like, I don't think fans deserve everything.
Right.
But I think fans deserve answers on this when the players that they're watching are not out there. They're getting re-injured. You know, it's impossible to, like, really figure out what's going on with this team on a regular basis. And it's not Zach DeCenzo. It's Yordan Alvarez. It's Kyle Tucker. It's Christian Javier. It's Luis Garcia. It's Lance McCullers. It's guys that are very vital to the success of the Houston Astros are the ones that are dealing with these injuries. And that's why people are frustrated.
It's fair to be frustrated. I'm very frustrated with it. I don't think that the team owes anybody answers. In fact, if I'm running a team, I probably would be silent more than I am loud. I think what gets them in trouble a lot is that they are loud. Okay, we expect McCullers and Luis Garcia back in the middle of summer.
Yeah. And then
didn't happen.
And then when they're wrong, that's when they get the most criticism.
I would never put a timeline on things. I think it's a very dangerous thing to do. Now, if you want to be like, okay, here's the injury, this is what's going to happen, this is the rehab process, like that, I think would be okay.
Like,
but you're not
like
required
Tommy
to
John
do
is
that.
typically this much time.
You don't put the timeline. You're just like, he had Tommy John surgery, which to me the Astros do that, but it's only major surgeries, and then you don't really get updates in the rehab, all that stuff. Like the way the Texans conduct business is the Texans really just don't say anything unless it's a major surgery where they're going to be out for the year. We'll see where we arrive. We'll see where we arrive. Like the C.J. Stroud thing, last week was, well, everybody's on their own schedule, and then the news got so rampant that they're like, okay, we probably need to try to cool this down a little bit.
Yeah.
So I believe more in the Texans' philosophy of we're just not going to say anything. Because if you don't say anything, you don't create expectation. Are people frustrated with you? Sure, but what is that really costing you? Nothing. It's costing you frustration. But if you're winning, they're still going to go to the games.
Yeah.
So there's no real loss there. The only time you can lose something is whenever you're more honest with the information or timelines, and they don't hit those timelines. But in terms of the Astros' competence here, and driving in today, I actually went back and listened to Dana Brown whenever he was on with the flagship earlier this week. I think it was Ross and Dan that were actually filling in, and they asked good questions. And yeah, I think that they were fair to Dana in terms of asking him difficult questions despite being the flagship. I think they did a good job. And one of the things that Dana mentioned was, I think it was Dan who asked him, is there going to be anything differently done going forward? Tucker last year, Yordan this year, and he's like, yeah, we're gonna do imaging more, which is okay, great.
That's
great.
great.
And we saw that because of the way they handled DeCenzo, and the press release was we're gonna do imaging and get in 2 weeks, which is how you should be doing it. But how do you not learn the lesson from Kyle Tucker last year? Why did it take a second time? So it's kind of like one of those fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. Okay, I can give you one. If the Tucker is the one, okay, you learn from that, you have a new policy, we're going to do imaging more, and then, you move on. But it took two. It took not only two, but it took two of your best players in the last 2 seasons. And the problem that I have with this is everybody knows that. It doesn't take a medic, we're not doctors, so we can't comment.
Yeah.
Yes, most of the time that is true. But everybody knows that inflammation can cover up a break in the bone. What else can inflammation cover up? Inflammation can cover up a perfectly fine bone. Mm-hmm. So what you're telling me is that whenever you took the X-ray or MRI or whatever, that the MRI showed so much inflammation that you couldn't see something. Okay, I understand that, totally understand. So why wouldn't you wait for the inflammation to calm down, A, and then B, do everything to reduce inflammation, the Rice method, and then go take another look. That way you have information. That way you can cross off that, okay, it's not a broken bone. Because if you're telling me that the inflammation was there, that it covered up the break, well, you're also telling me the inflammation was there that didn't tell you that it was healed or that it was 100% fine.
You're just going off Yordan's word.
Not only that, but you're going off of your own estimation.
Yeah.
Like, you're guessing at that point. Like, it's a hypothesis. It's an educated guess.
You're playing
but you don't
blackjack.
have the information.
Yeah, you're playing
You don't have
blackjack.
information. The information was so much we couldn't see. So
Yeah.
what are we going to do? Oh, it's perfectly fine. You don't know that.
Well, they thought they did.
Like, if this was a court of law, right?
Yeah.
This was a court of law. You're going to argue that Yordan had a break. I'm going to argue that Yordan didn't have a break. If you show me an MRI that has inflammation and I can't see either one, how could either one of us win the argument?
Yeah, you would lose. You would lose it automatically. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
It's dumb.
It's and that's what it is. It makes me wonder, like, when guys talk about wanting to come here or leave, like, that is a factor. Medical stuff is important. I mean, now I think, like, you see some of the injuries the Astros have dealt with in recent years. We're going to see the exact same timeline basically with Alex Bregman, or his quad injury that he had in Houston that he now has in Boston. But, like, it just makes you wonder. Like,
I don't think it matters for what it's worth. Like, it might break a tie, but if I knew that the Astros medical staff was incompetent on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being incompetent, 10 being geniuses, they're a 1. Some other random organization is a 10, but the Astros are offering me $80 million for 3. This team over here is offering me $60 million for 3. I'm still picking the incompetent.
No, you're going with the money.
Yeah,
it'd have to be a 3-year 80 for both, as an example from both teams.
Maybe it breaks ties or it breaks things that are close. I don't think that it has a substantial impact on players leaving or going.
I just think it should. I think that we get so limited access to Jim Crane that sometimes this stuff gets forgotten. And when it comes time to the end of the year press conference, I don't go to these things, so I guess we're all culpable of this. I just feel like it gets forgotten. Like, I think it's the next time Jim Crane is available, somebody needs to put the heat on Jim Crane and say, are you okay with this? Like, are you okay that 2 years in a row, we had to find out much later that a player had a fracture, that one of them walked out of the building, was going to play in 2 days, and then missed like 2 months of baseball, that one got back in the cage and got hurt, or not re-hurt, but you found out there was a fracture. Like, I would love to hear what Jim Crane would have to say, because I can't imagine he's happy. Yeah. He has to be upset. Let's talk about good
Tucker was running on a treadmill.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, Tucker was running on a treadmill with what we found out later had a broken bone in his leg. Mm-hmm. And Yordan Alvarez was swinging a baseball bat, and we later found out that he had a broken bone in his hand. That's not hyperbolic. That happened. Yep. Like, that's blooper reel 101. That's amazing baseball blunders of our century, and they've happened in back-to-back years.
Let's talk about some of the good stuff that's been happening with the Astros. Let's focus on Lance McCullers. Lance McCullers, another really good outing. 6 innings, 7 strikeouts in this last one. So he has 27 strikeouts over his last 3 starts for the Astros. Only 1 walk in his last start. Honestly, I'm not all in on Lance McCullers or wanting to even ask the question of, is Lance McCullers back? But are we close to wanting to ask that question? Yeah. How many more starts from Lance do you need to see before you start to really consider him, always having the injury stuff in the back of your mind, but always starting to factor in that maybe Lance does factor into a playoff rotation if he's healthy?
No, I'm there.
You're there already?
Sure. I mean, he's your third best starter right now.
I want to see a little rise in competition. It has been a little low level for him, what he's done in these last 3 starts. They've won 1 game since like the start of May.
Yeah, but their offense is league average. And he struck out 12 of them.
And Seattle's offense is good, has been good this year. But like, if he gets like a Phillies or a Cubs start coming up this month, like I would like to see, to really want to go like, I'm all the way back in, I want to see 1 bar up in terms of the level of competition he's facing.
I mean, I think it's relative to what you're comparing it against. Like, if you're comparing Lance McCullers to the bottom of the rotation, like the bottom of the rotation are facing the same pitchers that Lance McCullers is.
For sure.
Like, if you're talking about playoff rotation for what is healthy now, I mean, Lance McCullers is clearly in it. He's clearly one of your top 4 starters. I would argue he's your 3rd best starter. I like Gordon, but I think I would take McCullers if I could pick my starter, all things are equal. One guy could save my life. I'm going to die if I lose. I'll survive if I win. I'd probably go Lance McCullers over Colton Gordon today.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Lance is currently your number 3 guy. Mm-hmm. Like he would, if the playoffs started today, he would be, and everybody's rested and everything's equal, Lance McCullers would be your number 3. And he is there. Now, if you're comparing it to like where he's been in his career, I mean, there's still some things that I could see where you'd want to see more and all of that, but his strikeout numbers are better than they've ever been.
It's honestly more about, I guess I'm just not ready to really believe it yet because of how long he was gone for. It's not necessarily because the stuff is nasty. Like it is, he is nasty. Like he has like a 1.88 ERA this year. If you take out that one out an inning he got against the Reds, if you take that out, he's been phenomenal. We've seen him he's gotten to the 6th inning 2 starts in a row with pitch counts into the high 90s and low hundreds. Talking about training wheels being off, I mean, they didn't have any consideration for pitch count for Lance McCullers. His first start back, he threw 86 pitches. Like, they're just treating him like he's Lance McCullers out there, and I kind of like it. But I just want one more. I just want to see a better quality opponent, and then I'm all the way back in.
No, I think both things are true here, right? Like he's your 3rd best starter right now if the playoffs were to start. Like, do you want to see more? Like everybody always wants to see more. It's like our minds move like slow-moving ships, right? Like, okay, we're gradually getting there. But there's a lot of promising signs. Like his walk rate has gotten better. That was something that I noticed early in the year. I was like, oh, this isn't great. He's walking a lot. But his last 2 starts, he has 1 walk each. I think he's kind of reinventing his approach and his repertoire. Like he realizes he doesn't throw in the mid to upper 90s anymore. Mm-hmm. Like he's got a low 90s fastball that gets hit. Like go look at the numbers on individual pitches. His sinker, his 4-seamer get hit. So what is he doing? He's throwing more of the change, landing that early in the count. The spin is there. Like that's why I'm encouraged about Lance. It's like this isn't a fluke because you look at some of the metrics on his pitches and the spin rate on his breaking stuff is about where it was whenever he was pitching a few years ago. Mm-hmm. So there are some of the metrics that I really like. For him, I think it's going to be command. Because if he can't command with a low 90s fastball and his secondary stuff, which is really his primary stuff now, but like his off-speed stuff, then he'll struggle. But if he can command his pitches and he still has the spin that he had a few years ago, I think it's – look, I don't think he's going to strike out 12 every start. I don't think he's going to have 6 innings, 1 run every start. But do I think he can, like – fulfill a middle-of-the-rotation spot in the Astros rotation? I actually do, which is a huge win. I didn't think we would be here at this point.
I didn't think we would be either. And that 1 start obviously was just such a disaster. I mean, it honestly makes you wonder, like, if he was accidentally tipping pitches or anything like that, or just had a really bad day.
Well, I mean, most of them were walks.
Yeah,
and
that is a Lance McCullers thing. That's always kind of been there. It's
like 7 guys. I'm looking at the numbers now. He allowed 7 guys to reach. He walked 3. He hit 1. So like, command.
Yeah.
And look, I mean, it was his 2nd start after not pitching in 2.5 years. Like, it's okay to have a bad one here and there.
For sure.
Like, you have to have a bit of a runway. Like, we should probably, and there's probably another one coming. You know, there's probably down the pike.
We also got the official, I guess, close of the guy who threatened Lance and his family, someone overseas. Sports bettor, not Astros fan. Not surprising to me. Still not totally clear, like, if it was an American citizen just overseas or just someone overseas. Because it's baseball.
Does it matter?
I think you could more easily charge someone if they're like a member of the military and they're drunk, and they were, and they were threatening Lance.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because I just don't know how many people in, like, I don't know, England are betting on Astros baseball.
I mean, how many people here bet on, like, Korean baseball?
That's true, so I guess it does go the other way, where, like, you're a degenerate no matter what country you live in.
It would make more sense for them to bet on Major League Baseball because it's the top of its sport.
Yeah.
Versus, like, us betting on Korean baseball.
I bet on Korean baseball during the pandemic.
Yeah,
on the KBO.
Did.
I mean, look, man, it was a dry time. There wasn't a lot going on, and they were, like, the first sports league back in action. It was the Dragons were my team. But, at least that's resolved. I think... Unfortunately, I do think this is something that is going to be a continued conversation around athletes, kind of from a bigger picture perspective, away from just Lance McCullers. Obviously, we've seen from athletes in the collegiate level, the professional level, where the threats they're getting because of lost bets has increased because sports betting is legalized, and it'll never happen here in this state for whatever reason, but that's fine. But this is kind of just like part of our world. It sucks now. It makes me, it does, even though I'm very pro gambling responsibly, this kind of tarnishes it. The fact that something like this can happen, I would say.
It's never going away. I mean, this
Yeah.
is the reality of it. Maybe it stinks, and I'm not like condoning it. It's just the reality of it. I think it's the lowest form of people, one of the lowest forms of people, that because you lost a third leg of a $5 parlay that would have paid you $22, you think DMing somebody on social media and threatening to kill that person and killing his family is acceptable. It's disgusting. I wish they would find a way to throw the book at him as much as they possibly could. I think they should do that with everybody who does that. And it's not the first time it's happened. It won't be the last time it's happened. It is the reality of it. What is the fix? I don't think there ever is a true fix that will eliminate it all the way.
I agree.
But the step that I would take if I'm just running the world would be you find the person who did it, and you penalize them to the maximum of your ability each and every time to try to diminish it as much as you possibly could.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to make some changes. We'll get back to normal Astros conversation here in a second after we take a break. But, I mean, like, there's no charges pressed against this guy, so his name's not going to be released. So we don't really know, or girl, I guess, who it was. And I don't agree with that. I think that, like, there needs to be some changes, that if this is going to be a common occurrence, that people should be protected. And because it's not just professional athletes, it's college kids. It's, guys who are, for some reason, someone's got a parlay on a Ivy League basketball game and they can't shoot free throws. And like those kids are going to get come after. Like, that sucks. Like, that's not good. And it makes me honestly want to it does make me question like my own thoughts on sports gambling, like if it's going to be like this. But Lance McCullers, the positive is, I think we're almost ready to have the conversation. You're ready that he's back. Lance McCullers back. Would you bet on Lance McCullers over Spencer Arrighetti right now if health was not a question? Being like the third guy.
See, that's the conversation. So Spencer Arrighetti gets back July, whatever. Lance McCullers rest of the year once Arrighetti's back versus Arrighetti rest of the year once he is, well, obviously he's back. Probably not. I would bet the Arrighetti side on that.
Is there? I mentioned kid gloves earlier with the pitch count, but I actually am surprised this hasn't been addressed yet. Do you think we'll see an innings limit for Lance or a pitch count limit for Lance this
I don't
year?
think there should be. No.
Just kind of like let him go, see what it does.
Yeah. Why would you protect Lance?
Yeah, because I mean you're paying him $17 million, so like you might as well just get the best you can out of him. And I think that's what Lance McCullers would want, to be honest. I don't think he would want.
His contract's up next year.
Yeah.
So like you don't have like it's not a prospect that you have five, depending on where they're at in their stage of career, but you don't have 5 or 6 years left of Spencer Arrighetti. Hunter Brown, I think, has this year and 3 more.
Yeah.
Like those are guys that you're protecting. Maybe not so much Hunter Brown because he's proven and he's built up the conditioning and the workload, all that stuff. But no, you don't protect a 31-year-old Lance McCullers who is 2 years this year, 1 more away from free agency. I hate to be like callous about it, but no, I would abuse the arm.
I think that's fair. All right, let's take a break. Let's hear from our friends at Blue Star Tequila so they can teach us what night harvesting is all about.
In the highlands of Jalisco, as the fierce heat of day fades into dusk, the sun dips below the horizon, and our jimadores begin their work. Harvesting our precious agave azul beneath the glow of stars, while the night air is cool and calm. Away from the harsh heat of the sun, we protect our agave's freshness, locking in essential natural properties and sweetness, and preserving its unique flavor profile. This world-first practice has been warmly embraced by our jimadores, who relish the soothing embrace of evening's cool air as they work beneath the moonlight. 100% agave azul, night harvested, unfiltered, and additive-free. We invite you to taste the Blue Star difference.
All right, Jeremy. Astros, 60 games into the season at this point. I was curious that where the betting odds were stacking this team, because there's certain teams in the American League I'm not fully a believer in just yet, even though the Tigers beat the Astros in the playoffs last year. I still have some questions about what they really are. The Yankees are obviously without Garrett Cole for the year. So I was just curious. So I pulled up the American League odds to win the American League. The Yankees are plus 225. in first place. The Tigers are the second best odds at plus 340. And then tied at plus 750 are the Houston Astros and the Seattle Mariners. Is that fair? Is there anyone that they should be in front of, behind?
No, I think it's fair. I think the reason that the odds are that way is, quite frankly, because
Those are the division odds.
yeah, well,
The leaders in the division.
yeah, they have such a big lead. So, like, you can almost guarantee that they're going to be in the playoffs, right? Like, if you were to just place, if you, I guess, phrase the question differently, let's just assume that those teams that you mentioned are in the playoffs. Like, do I think the Astros have a better chance of reaching the World Series than the Tigers? I do, even though the Tigers have had a better regular season. I think the Astros are built a little bit more for the postseason, even though the Tigers eliminated them last year. So I think the odds are like skewed a bit because of their current standing in division. So I think that I think it's fair. I think the Astros are more of a playoff-built team than a regular season-built team. And they haven't had like Yordan Alvarez giving them nothing this year, and he's their best offensive player. So I think the odds are fair because, again, they have a better chance of potentially missing the playoffs. But if they get there, I like their team more than Detroit. I like their team more even than the Yankees. Judge kind of disappears in the playoffs. I don't think the Yankees have a top two in their rotation. I know Fried and Rendon have been good, but I give me Fromber and Hunter Brown against those two guys. Plus, I like the back end of the Astros bullpen more than the Yankees. Their closer just pulled his hamstring or whatever. He's going to be out for a while. Devin Williams moving back into the closer's role, and he got demoted earlier in the year. So, no, I think it's fair. But if you told me all those teams would be in the playoffs, yeah, I like the Astros odds there.
Yeah, I think, if the Astros were to pull away from the Mariners here at some point, those odds will change a little bit. But so if you're going to get in, honestly, to win the American League, if you're going to do it, speaking of, we just talked about Lance McCullers and gambling, this might be the right time to do it. But yeah, I think them tied for third right now makes sense. But I'm with you too. Like I think they stack up well against both those teams in front of them. I think the American League is very wide open this year. I don't really believe in like the Twins or the other teams that are sitting around the wild card spot right now, especially with the Pablo Lopez injury for them. That's going to ruin their season now that he's out for the year. I think these are like the four top teams in the American League, unless someone makes a big acquisition at the deadline. Like I don't think I can't buy into Cleveland.
No, there's a lot of
Kansas City's not there yet for me, unless this Caglione kid
called him up too early.
Yeah, well, he's number 2 in AL Rookie of the Year odds.
That's insane.
I'm surprised by that. Cam Smith is number 4 for the record. He's still 4th. I know you're trying to get him out of his slump again.
Yeah, he's 0 for his last 15 or something like that.
Jeremy's trying to fix it by being mean to him on Twitter.
I prefaced it.
But he's publicly being mean.
Yeah.
And you're telling people that you're being,
Yeah.
You're just trying to help
I feel like
out.
it's a kindler, gentler me.
Yeah, I think so. That's
Usually
fair.
I don't have that. I'm going to show you this
He's
is
young.
the case.
He's a young guy.
Yeah.
And so you're being a little nicer to him.
Both.
And then for the overall standings, the Astros are, I should have counted this before, 9th in terms of World Series champion odds right now. Dodgers, Yankees, Phillies, Mets, Tigers, Cubs. The Mariners are close. Yep.
Didn't Kyle Tucker plan his wedding in September because he knew the Cubs would be done?
I hope that's not true.
No, I think it's
the Mariners are plus 1,700 odd, and the Astros are plus 1,800 to win the World Series. So they're about 8th right now. A lot of American League teams in front of them. The Dodgers are obviously such a heavy favorite. But we've seen the best teams in baseball not win championships.
Oh, yeah. Baseball's a crapshoot.
I was listening to this podcast recently, and they did a draft of hills you will die on. And the one that popped in my head was that 2019 Houston Astros is the best team to never win a World Series.
I'd push back and say 2018 Astros. I think we sleep on the 2018 Astros.
Really? You think
yeah.
You think 19 with Yordan and Tucker, and who I know was young, that was what, his debut
See, I don't
year?
know. Tucker wasn't really playing much on that team. Like, he was still fighting for, like, starts with Reddick, wasn't he?
I think so, yeah.
The difference between 18 and 19, I agree with you that the 19... The 19 team was better offensively because they had Yordan, who was the Rookie of the Year, and that was his year that he came onto the scene, and he was fantastic and all that. I can't give you Tucker, though. Like, Tucker played pretty good down the stretch, but, like, Hinch was still rotating him and Reddick in right field. But what 18 had that 19 didn't was more pitching. like I understand you had Verlander and Cole at the top, and they were 1-2 in Cy Young. Like that, they were unbelievable that year. But after that, and Miley was fine. You had 33 starts from Wade Miley. You had 15 starts for Peacock. Now you did trade for Greinke, and you got 10 starts out of him. But if you go to 2018, you still had Dallas Keuchel.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Verlander and Cole were still on the team, and they were
Yes.
still really, really good. Like, they didn't have the seasons like they had in
But
19.
they were still
but they were
elite
still
pitchers.
dominant.
They were still elite
So you
pitchers.
had Verlander, Cole. You had the last year of Dallas Keuchel. You had the last year of Charlie Morton, who made 30 starts that year.
Mm-hmm.
You had 22 starts of Lance McCullers. Didn't pitch the next year because he was hurt. So
Pretty good.
that rotation was better than the 19 rotation. Now, the 19 offense was better than the 18 offense.
Sure. And then was that Presley's first year, 19, or was he the year? I can't remember what year.
I think he came over in no, he wasn't on the 18 team.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think it is two of the best teams. That's why, yeah, the Dodgers are plus 280 to win the World Series right now.
If the Dodgers don't win the World Series, it's a failure.
For sure. It's
Failure
a
of the
failure
year.
for them.
Yeah.
But it's not. It also shouldn't be surprising, I think, for anyone else because baseball is such a crapshoot that like we see good teams lose all the time.
Oh no. Well, I'm like with you, but I'm talking out both sides of my mouth. Like I do think baseball playoffs are a crapshoot. Get a seat at the table, you got
Yep.
shot. It's like a chip in a chair, right?
But it's a failure for the Dodgers.
Oh no, if they lose, I mean, how could you? If they lost, any scenario,
Yeah.
if they don't win the World Series, it's a failure of a year. Any scenario.
Yeah, I'm almost scared to think of the idea of if the Dodgers lose the World Series, what are they going to do financially?
Oh, they're going to sign Kyle Tucker.
Yeah, like
They're going to sign Tucker and Bregman. Bregman's going to opt out.
Yeah, I don't think it's a shoo-in that Tucker goes there if they win the World Series. If they lose the World Series, that feels like an automatic.
Where are you with Tucker and re-signing with the Cubs?
50-50.
Yeah, I made Cubs fans mad the other day.
I know you did.
You saw it?
Yeah, I saw it.
And they were like, oh, he's going to re-sign. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's see.
Interestingly enough, I know this is an Astros podcast. I'm wearing an Astros hat. I think Kyle Tucker is quickly turning into the number 2 priority for that franchise.
Number 2 priority.
In terms of, I think Pete Crow Armstrong is the priority.
That dude's a stud.
He's incredible.
Looks funny, but he's a stud.
He does look very funny. But yeah, no, I think Kyle Tucker will hit free agency. I think he's going to be a Philadelphia Philly.
You know
I've
what?
kind of
I
always
like
said that for a while. Like I feel like he's going to the Phillies.
Hot take. I want a pretty pitcher and I want an ugly hitter.
Okay.
I think the better pitchers are usually more handsome,
Okay.
prettier men,
Okay.
whereas like the hitters,
Uglier.
yeah, usually not very good looking.
You got some examples you can use for this?
Like Verlander's a good-looking man, obviously. Kate Upton, Garrett Cole
Yep.
is a handsome person.
Sure.
I think Hunter Brown's a handsome guy. I think Fromber's handsome. If you know.
And to Garrett
you're
Cole's
into the
point,
Latins.
like I mean, pre-beard, pre-Yankees
depends
with
on what
the
you're-
beard,
yeah, some
without
guys-
the beard. It's
some gals like beard, some gals don't.
Yeah, it's
some
true.
guys do too. And then you look at some hitters like, let's say, who are the best hitters in baseball right now? Pete Crow Armstrong, you mentioned.
Yep,
Not a very good looking guy.
weird
Aaron
looking guy.
Judge
Yeah,
looks like
weird.
Shrek.
Yes, he does.
Not a very good looking guy.
Shohei's fine. This is a weird end to this podcast.
Shohei's a good looking guy. Yeah, he's fine. Who are the Astros' best hitters currently? Payne is really handsome. So that doesn't really hold water there.
Yeah, to be honest with you, if
Pena.
you tried, like, if that was your take of like,
I'm gonna have to do some more research. On
yeah, I
this.
think you are. I think this
have
is
to
like
workshop
this is
this.
yeah, this is your test grounds.
But I
for
definitely
what you
wanna-
take to the Killer Bees.
I definitely want a handsome pitcher. I think that is proven.
That the better looking you are.
You remember Ezekiel Estachio?
Nope.
Let me pull up a picture of Ezekiel Estachio real quick. Not what you would call a good-looking man. He was a pitcher, and he was awful, really bad pitcher
Why do you remember this guy?
because he was so ugly. He was an Astro. I mean, look at him. He's probably the ugliest Astro of all time.
Okay.
Am I wrong?
Uh,
Look at that. Look, he has like stuff growing off his face.
can you ask Todd Gallis this?
I mean, Todd doesn't know the history of the Astros as well as I do.
Oh, he knows baseball history.
But
No,
look at Ezekiel.
No, but just like
What are those things?
That's tough. That's a tough look. But just know the general question of,
I hope he's still alive.
do you think?
If he's dead, we're gonna have to fix this in post.
I'm gonna cut it all out if he's not alive. Hey TK, Jeremy Brandon here on the Killer Bees. Was wondering, I had this thought. The uglier you are as a hitter, the better you are. The more attractive you are, the pitcher, the better you
Wikipedia
are.
says he's still alive. Or
All right.
it doesn't say he's still alive, but he doesn't have a dead date.
Well,
So
then that means
I think
he's-
I'm safe.
He's still kicking. All right, we're going to end there. That will do it for us here on this episode of Inside the Icebox. The radio version now airs on Friday nights from 6 to 7, just like it does here on YouTube as well. Today's episode has been brought to you by Blue Star Tequila, the world's first night harvested tequila, all natural and unfiltered at its best. You can find more out at bluestartequila.com. He's Jeremy. I'm Joe. We'll talk to you next week. Peace.